Still playing with Jace the Mind Sculptor in this deck, for the record.
Okay. Draw on your left, Ross on your right. It's Food Chain versus Dimir Shadow. Food Chain, huh?
I can't recall the last Legacy event I've watched Gerard Fabiano not have Jace the Mind Sculptor in his deck.
It's a really good Magic card. Can't recommend it highly enough. Ross is going to start things off with a Marsh Flats. Gerard's going to start things off with a... well, okay. A Swamp and a Relic of Progenitus. As far as... Oh, that should be one of your bingo squares. Player starts game with...
Basic Swamp,
Relic of Progenitus.
Not Fetch, just a Swamp.
Yeah,
I have a swamp in my hand, and here's a Relic.
Yeah.
I think it was Zvi Mochowitz who I recently read say that Gerard, the sort of macro strategy he's applied to Magic is play with the good cards and play them better than other people play their cards. And you pick up a lot of wins that way.
Yeah, that's been his macro strategy for years.
For a long time.
His deck lists look goofy, but it's not like there are bad cards in there.
Yeah, I mean, I think Gerard has a good sense of cards that are kind of on diminishing returns. So his decks have a lot of weird 2s and 3-ofs, but, you know, you don't want to get flooded with too many cards like Hymn to Torak or Abrupt Decay. They have their spots. And in Legacy, when you have Brainstorm and Ponder plus Fetch lands, these cards that are really good some of the time and not great a lot of the other time, there's incentive to load up on those cards because you can shuffle them away in the spots where they're bad.
Spell Pierce is going to take care of that Relic Progenitus from Merriam. Now he's going to follow up with a Brainstorm. So 3 cards coming in for Ross. 2 will be going back. Perhaps he's on the hunt for a second land. We'll find out soon enough. I suppose Ross does have some experience playing Brainstorm, of course, because he has played Storm to at least one second-place finisher on the SCG Tour in Philadelphia a couple of years ago before losing in the finals to Daryl Ayers and those darn Kurt Apes. Never forget that one. Big shout-out to Daryl. Hopefully he's here this weekend. We're not too far away from Daryl Ayers. Ross trying to figure out what he wants to put back here with the Brainstorm. It looks like he's found the 2 cards that he's happy to put back. So Brainstorm done resolving. Merriam does have a land to play there in Scalding Tarn, so he's going to fall down to at least 16. We'll see how low Ross wants to go.
He's going right past that Underground Sea, so again, another Watery Grave.
Well, that answers that question. He falls down to 14, which means, you know, obviously he's trying to work his life total down here with the Death Shadow hand as he's going to deploy a Delver of Secrets. And it looks like that's going to resolve, maybe. well, maybe not. Fabiano not too sure what he wants to do.
This would be a bold spot for Force of Will.
Yes, it would.
Both given the impact of the Delver and how vulnerable Fabiano is to Daze.
All right, looks like Delver's going to resolve. We're going to go back over to Gerard Hill and tap that Lone Swamp and draw a card. It'll be an Underground Sea, and now it'll be a copy of Hymn to Torak, a card that has really picked up a lot in Legacy over the past handful of months. Daze is going to take care of that. So Merriam off to a great start here. Will he transform his Delver? He will not. Ross does know his way around a Delver of Secrets or 2. His first open win many moons ago was with Blue-White Delver in Standard, as he's going to cycle a Street Wraith. And he will draw a card.
He drew a Wasteland. This is just not okay.
He will Wasteland that Underground Sea. The follow-up is now in Death Shadow. It's a good start here for Ross Merriam as Fabiano's going to draw a card. Death Shadow, just a baby right now, is a 1-1, but a lot of potential here as there's a basic forest. And now here's another relic. Multiple relics? I mean, I know they're good in his deck because of the Mist Hollow Griffins.
Yeah. And it's good against the Death Shadow deck, I think, on a couple of fronts. And there's random Reanimator and Dredge-style decks floating around.
Fatal Push will be the reveal. Delver Secrets will transform into Insectile Aberration. So from a 1-1 to a 3-2 in the air. And we know that Merriam has another copy of Watery Grave in hand, so can he, of course, play that untapped, make Death Shadow grow a little bit, which is exactly what he's going to do. It's up to a 3-3. It'll be an attack here for 6. Fabiano going to fall down to 13. Back over to Gerard will go for his 4th turn of the game. and he will simply pass the turn back. So he's having some mana issues as Gerard. Makes you wonder if he does have a copy of something like an Abrupt Decay in hand, as Merriam will play a Misty Rainforest. He will serve in here with both of these creatures. Again, they are 3/3s. Merriam with the ability to sacrifice that Misty Rainforest and grow the Death Shadow at his leisure, and it looks like he will do just that, partner.
Yep. Fabiano here, not really looking like the type of deck that's going to put a lot of pressure or punish Ross for taking some liberties with his life total.
It'll be an Underground Sea, actually, this go around here for Merriam. That's the land he's going to find. Do want to do a quick check on how many Watery Graves he's playing this weekend. The number is 3, along with 2 Underground Seas. No basics, however. I'm sure there might be a little bit of fear of a card like Abrupt Decay. Fabiano does have a couple copies, 3 actually, in his main deck here this weekend.
It's either 2 or 3.
Yeah. Like most Gerard decks, is now here is a Liliana, the Last Hope. So this is the innovation that these players have made, both Ross and Todd Anderson. Todd Anderson kind of spearheading this and saying, you know what, my deck needs to be a little bit faster. Or excuse me, it needs not only be a little bit fast, but also be able to last a little bit longer. That's a big deal here. Reanimate is a very high upside card, no question. Being able to reanimate a Street Wraith on turn number 1 is it's pretty good.
Yep.
But Todd found that was just not leading to enough wins, and Reanimate was too poor too often to be able to stick with that game plan.
Yeah, the Delver deck kind of puts a premium on, you want to just kind of always be on the front foot, always just be able to cast your cards, and Reanimate is, a little bit higher variance than most of the cards these decks typically choose to play.
It's another boring attack and a win there for Ross Merriam. He's going to win game number 1 over Gerard Fabiano. Demir Death Shadow very quickly up a game here over Food Chain. It's Fabiano not even able to find an Abrupt Decay there to stave off elimination. So we are going to take a look at the sideboards here, and we will start with Gerard, who's got those 4 Force of Wills in the sideboard. Typically you'd see that as a main deck card, and that's perhaps why we saw Fabiano doing a little bit of posturing in the earlier stages of game number 1, thinking about Force of Willing a couple cards, even though he doesn't even have them in his main deck.
Yeah, and I kind of like the Force of Wills in the sideboard here because Relic of Progenitus covers you in a lot of the matchups where you need Force of Will.
That makes sense. That makes sense. We got 3 Engineered Explosives, 2 Surgical Extraction, 2 Carpet of Flowers, 2 Flusterstorm, a Toxic Deluge, and a Pit the Needle. Partner, what do you like here?
The Engineered Explosives, I think, are really good here. I like the Flusterstorms, although I don't know how much Gerard wants to fight those kind of battles. And I think Carpet of Flowers could be good in this matchup, too.
We'll take a look at Ross's sideboard. He's got 3 Surgical Extractions. Very common to see 2 or 3 copies in basically every sideboard in Legacy of that card now. Along with 2 Bitter Blossoms, 2 Diabolic Edicts. And let's go over the one-ofs here for Ross. He's got a Liliana's Defeat, a Dreaded Night, a Massacre, and Marsh Casualties, a Flusterstorm, a Stubborn Denial, another copy of Liliana the Last Hope, and old Snapcaster Mage.
Well, Ross may not know what Gerard is playing. And the cards that Gerard was playing kind of suggested just some Soul Tie, good stuff Gerard brew. Ross may not know that there's a Manipulate Fate food chain thing going on here. I think the Snapcaster Mage and the 2 copies of Bitter Blossom are likely to come in based on Ross's expectations. And if he knows what he's kind of up against, then you might see something like the Flusterstorm come in as well.
Well, those are the options there for both players. Game number 2 will be underway here in just a moment as you see these 2 players focusing in on their sideboard. Fabiano will be on the play for game number 2. And while they work on that, we talk about the StarCityGames.com newsletter as your source for Magic the Gathering news. We got highlights from some of our very best articles there on StarCityGames.com. If you are subscribed to the newsletter this week, boy, what do we throw in there? I know that Patrick Chapin wrote a great article on Vraska Golgari Queen. Brian Gottlieb taking a look at maybe bringing Block Constructed back and as a way to analyze brand new cards from Guilds of Ravnica. Emma Handy had a pretty in-depth conversation about Militia Bugler and how it does find Aurelia and a whole bunch more. And, of course, Todd Anderson talking about his new build of Death Shadow that he's playing here this weekend, off to a 2-0 start. Upcoming SCD Tour dates and locations, Possibility Storm, Puzzle Solutions, and, of course, IQs and game nights near you. Best of all, totes free, man.
Free over at go.starcitygames.com/newsletter.
For Ross Merriam, a player who has certainly made his name here on the SCD Tour. Some great Grand Prix results, no question. He's actually going to be playing in the next Pro Tour as well in Atlanta in a handful of weeks here. Will a 29-year-old from Connecticut with 22 open top 8s. Looking for number 23 this weekend with 4 open wins. Maybe number 5 will be coming here too. Invitational top 8s, there are 2. No trophy just yet. Jeopardy Fan was on the show in July 2016. Big fan of eggs every morning for breakfast, as am I. And for Ross Merriam, basketball starts in 24 days. Which
Can't
means
wait.
Donovan Mitchell and company are going to give some beatdowns.
Oh, yeah. I think they're going to be real good this year.
I think they're going to be fantastic this year. Low-key for me, low-key maybe number 3 seed in the West.
Oh, I totally buy it.
Yeah.
They're going to be really good.
So Golden State's obviously number 1. Who's your number 2? You got to pick right now.
Houston.
Yeah? Some people think it's going to be OKC.
No.
No? Okay. Well, obviously you don't.
I don't. Well, I think the conference is good enough that it's going to come down to health.
Okay.
And I think even if Golden State, for example, they decide to cruise a little bit, maybe Curry misses 20 games, something like that, they could. I don't think it's a lot. They get the number 1 seed. But yeah, Houston, if they're reasonably healthy, still the second best team in the conference.
Jazz are dangerous, man.
But they're good.
They're dangerous.
They're going to be really good.
I like them. Might be. I'm thinking Donovan Mitchell is going to be a Jazz player for a long time. So safe to buy that jersey now.
Well, they got him locked up for the next 7 years, 8 years.
Yeah.
The way the contracts work. So yeah, it's safe.
And man, he can really play. Ross has got some things to smile about. He's already up a game. His favorite basketball team is pretty darn good in the West, and eggs are really good. But when you think about Pronjal,
got to wasteland Gerard and then win with 1-mana cards.
That's true. That's always nice.
Yeah. The best thing to do in Legacy.
Yeah. You just got to play that human strategy like me, man. I got a lot of 1-man cards in that deck.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I buy
all
it.
creatures, no spells.
Yeah.
I gotta say, Palace Jailer. What's going on with that thing?
That's the Monarch.
Yeah, that card's unbelievable.
Yeah, I mean, you can get a lot for. I mean, if you're willing to play a 4-mana creature in Legacy, you can do
Man,
a lot of good stuff.
that's a nice Magic card. I weirdly kind of like the Monarch too. Just like what's going on there.
Oh, I think the gameplay of the Monarch is really sweet. I mean,
Yeah.
the incentives are great, both in multiplayer and one-on-one Magic.
Pretty sweet card.
It's a little weird when these cards show up in Legacy events, and it's like, what? Wait, where's this from, and what does this do?
Yeah.
There's a little bit of that.
Well, I don't know what set it's from.
This is, I think, a pretty sweet design. I think the Monarch's good gameplay.
Apparently, the second conspiracy was a take the crown, maybe. I nailed it.
Way to go.
Nailed it. Just print it in standard. Who cares? Just throw it in there.
No, this card's way too much.
Obviously, it's way too good for standard. I will exile your Rekindling Phoenix and draw a card.
Yeah, 4 mana, you become the Monarch in standard is likely too much.
Yeah. With no other text?
With no other text, yeah. So,
Gerard's going to start things off with the Polluted Delta. Let's see what land Fabiano wants to search up. It will be a tropical island. Now, it does make you wonder if Ross actually knows what Gerard is playing, because Gerard did effectively nothing that game.
yeah, he just looked like a Sultai good cards deck that was missing mana.
Sort of.
With the relics.
Yeah.
But, like, Gerard could just be having some relics in his deck.
Yeah. All right, here's Carpet of Flowers. So this is the kind of card you see this, and Ross might think, okay, he's playing Storm. You know? But the relics say that he wasn't playing Storm.
Right.
You know, so it's kind of strange.
Plus a basic swamp and a basic forest. I mean, that would be really bizarre.
Yeah. There's Carpet of Flowers from Urza's Saga. During your main phase, you may add up to X mana of one color to your mana pool, where X is the number of islands target opponent controls.
A very effective way for decks that are trying to play big spells to work their way around the Spell Pierces and Fluster Storms of the format.
Wasteland. Gotta go after Tropical Island. See if this works out for Ross.
Still the best.
We go back over to Fabiano now. Fabiano does have an Underground Sea in hand. We're not seeing much of anything here from Gerard. He'll play an Underground Sea. He'll just pass the turn back. Ross will draw. All right, there's Bloodstained Mire. Pass the turn back. So both these players off to very slow starts.
Really good for Fabiano when the game looks like this. Ross obviously loath to sacrifice his fetch lands here, as he does not want to give Gerard mana via Carpet of Flowers.
So Fabiano's going to take this opportunity to brainstorm on Merriam's end step. We'll see if this will resolve. And while these players are working on this, Merriam's going to sacrifice Flooded Strand. We want to hear from you at home. Hashtag SCGBALT. After this match is over, as Merriam's going to fall down to 17 as he searches up a Watery Grave, we're going to be doing another preview card from Guilds of Ravnica, and we want to know what guild and what card you want to hear about, of which we have a rather extensive list. I know some players want to hear about Mission Briefing and the new Surveil Instant from Guilds of Ravnica, and here's a Spell Pierce. So let us know.
Yeah, Ross sort of needs to cash in the Spell Pierce for the first reasonable thing, because with Fabiano having Carpet of Flowers, the Spell Pierce is going to get unusable very quickly. Or at least is at risk of it.
Fabiano going to draw a card, now he's going to activate the Carpet of Flowers. So he's going to get to generate a little bit more mana. And now he's going to sacrifice the Polluted Delta. So now Fabiano going to dig up another land. We'll see if he wants to maybe go for another tropical island here. Again, remember, he is a 3-color deck. Is his food chain deck really based around the Sultai colors of blue, black, and green. And once he's able to get food chain on the battlefield, there should be some fireworks and quite a show, as there is a tropical island. But we'll cross that bridge once we get to it with regards to food chain and Mist Hollow Griffin. Really, when I think of that deck, I think of Jonathan Job more so than Gerard Fabiano.
Definitely.
Very surprised. Jonathan Job is in the building here this weekend as well, folks. 2-time Team Open champion this year is Job. And he loves himself some legacy. As now here is a Tassiger, the Golden Fang. Use some of the mana there from Carpet of Flowers, does Fabiano, as well as delving away quite a few cards.
And this is, much like Gurmag Angler, a very good threat against Dimir Shadow. Decks that, basically have Fatal Push, sometimes some damage-based removal or toughness-related removal in their deck. And Tassiger avoids all of that.
This is a Brainstorm. Flusterstorm is going to attempt to counter this by Fabiano. Ross does have a Daze and does have the ability to do a little bit of Pang. Just depends on how concerned he is here with resolving this Brainstorm.
I mean, you would be loath to break the Bloodstained Mire here, just because that's an extra mana next turn for the Carpet of Flowers.
At some point, don't you just have to say, pardon me, I need to be able to function. Hopefully your payoffs just aren't that good.
Definitely, but you need to pick your spots. You need to be doing it in a turn where, now if you're casting something like Gurmag Angler in the spot, great. Okay, then it's worth it. But if it's something just like Delver of Secrets or another cantrip, maybe you have to do it to try to get off the ground, as you mentioned, but it is a really painful spot.
All right, Dismember is going to take care of the Tassiger. Though, again, I am still very curious if Ross knows what Fabiano is up to, because everything that Gerard has done is, I wouldn't call it traditional. I mean, I suppose I would call it traditional Gerard.
Right.
But if you're trying to put Gerard on a deck here, which is always difficult to do, there's no way you've been able to do it thus far.
All right, there we go.
Now you can.
Now it's revealed.
Yep. It is a food chain. A card that we will certainly take a look at here as Merriam will draw a card for his turn. It is a complicated enchantment, but it does have a history of being very good. Remove a creature you control from the game. I suppose it has to be on the battlefield to do this?
Yes.
Yes, the creature removed from the game. Add X mana of any color to your mana pool, where X is the removed creature's converted mana cost +1. This mana may be spent only to play creature spells in combination with Mist Hollow Griffin. I believe this is infinite mana.
But just for creatures.
Correct.
So now Walking Ballista is a nice upgrade for this sort of strategy.
Here's a Thoughtseize. Take a look at the hand. Abrupt Decay and Engineered Explosive. So it's a reactive set of cards here for Fabiano, as Abrupt Decay will bite the dust and Engineered Explosive is left over. Merriam down to 8.
This is sort of the setup that you were mentioning before, that you would hope to get the game in, where when you are playing into Carpet of Flowers, that Fabiano's hand is just nothing really proactive to do with the mana. That's where we're at now.
Miss Hollow Griffin is the other piece of the puzzle there. Your 4-mana 3/3 flyer. You may cast Miss Hollow Griffin from exile. Of course, Food Chain does exile of the creature, as there's a Hymnotorac that Fabiano can play because of the Carpet of Flowers. That's why you don't even see him tap any mana. Here's a Brainstorm. Ross wants to hide a little something here. That'll resolve because Ross knows the only card left in Gerard's hand is a copy of Engineer Explosive. So 3 cards coming here from Merriam, and 2 will be going back.
Really important for Ross to find a threat card as soon as possible. Fabiano's got nothing really going on, but he's drawing to a lot of really big cards. Miss Hollow Griffin would be one. Manipulate Fate be a big draw here.
One, two, three, four, five, 6. 2 cards going to go away. All right. So what does Ross lose? He loses Daze and Preordain. Daze not much of a loss. Preordain potentially a big loss.
Yeah. Although whatever Merriam left on the top 2 has to be better than a Preordain.
You got to believe that, right? He hit some cards that matter. Fabiano's going to play Engineer Explosives just on 1. Got to remember that a lot of the threats in this deck, they're Delver of Secrets and Death Shadow, 1 mana. That'll be a polluted Delta. This is a Death Shadow, so Merriam says, I'll play right into it. You want to blow this up,
then
feel free.
And Fabiano's down his Carpet of Flowers if he does it.
Carpet will add some mana. This is a Thoughtseize. What does Merriam lose here? If anything. It's going to lose a Daze. Oh, what's interesting here is that part of me believes that Fabiano actually needs that Carpet.
He does. He can't cast a... If he loses the Carpet, he can't cast a Miss Hollow Griffin or Jace the Mind Sculptor that he draws. So it's not an ideal spot. I think Fabiano probably would want to take the hit once, and if he's facing lethal the next turn, then you break the Engineered Explosives. But so many of his big draws are predicated on having the Carpet of Flowers in play. So as long as he can hold out, he's going to hold out.
Well, Fabiano will take that first hit, so he's going to fall from 16 to 11. Right now, Death Shadow a 5/5, and now Fabiano could blow up that Engineer Explosives with the mana from the Carpet of Flowers that he has.
Makes a lot of sense to do it now if his draw step was another copy of Carpet of Flowers.
Though it does make you wonder now what the draw step was, of which Fabiano's concealed that from everyone but himself. Not sure what this spell
does not
could be.
look like he's thrilled with his option.
No, not really. I'm with you on that.
I feel like it has some sort of 1 mana per... Okay.
So it's another EE. This one is also for 1. I'm going to pass the turn back. So Merriam will draw again. I think the easiest place for Ross to start is attacking.
Definitely.
You know, and to make Gerard make a move. Looks like Fabiano's going to take the damage again.
So Gerard's going to get 1 more draw step here with the Carpet in play. So Miss Hollow Griffin, Manipulate Fate, Jace the Mind Sculptor, all potentially very big draws.
Merriam's going to sacrifice that fetch land, go get himself an Underground Sea. He's going to fall down to 7. You see the life totals here updated. 7-6 in favor of Ross right now, but a very close game. And now here is Liliana, the Last Hope, once again.
Liliana is not a bad card to have here if Gerard needs to stabilize with the removal that doesn't exile.
Carpet of Flowers is going to give Fabiano 3 mana now.
Yeah, this is a big draw step for Fabiano because a lot of his best draws are no longer good if he has to blow up that Engineered Explosives. Gerard appears to be really thinking this one over.
I mean, things are only getting more difficult here for Fabiano as his life total continues to dwindle. Looks like he's got 3 blue mana now from the carpet. Trinket Mage. What?
Well, this is not. So this is good for Gerard on a couple fronts. One, he gets to Trinket Mage for something. The other is, it's a chump blocker that allows him to keep the Carpet of Flowers in play one more additional turn.
Yeah.
If he gets a Relic, it's another draw. It takes a lot of sting out of the Liliana.
This does let him get Walking Ballista.
Also true.
And then Walking Ballista, no longer does he have to search for it to be able to win the game. So if he draws a Mist Hologriffin, the game is just over.
The game also just might be over. I mean, he can, if he gets a Ballista, and Ballista's for, spends the rest of his mana playing a Ballista. Ross is at 7. You chump block. You get a bunch of mana on your turn via Carpet.
Sure, to pump an attack.
Yeah, and Ross might have to do something.
Well, if he plays Ballista for 1 right now, Liliana would be a problem.
No, but he can play it for 2 because he still has. Oh no, he's out of mana from the Carpet.
Yeah,
you're right. You're right. Yep. So maybe he has to go get Relic here and just try to chump block and fend off. Okay, get in the Ballista.
Oh, weird little deck here. Much different take on Food Chain than we've seen before. Again, I believe Food Chain back in the day did play Deathrite Shaman. It'd be a little crazy.
He might also sacrifice the Mage to the Food Chain and play a Ballista for 3.
4 or 5. Yeah, he could do that. Could do that.
Yeah, but then he's just chump blocking with the Ballista next turn. So that's not a very good path.
I think Gerard asking how Carpet of Flowers works right now, and does it happen on both main phases?
No, I think you get either main phase A or main phase B. You don't double dip.
Yeah. I think it'd be a little too good if you got to do that. That's just my personal opinion, of course. I think at the very least, it'd see more play. How about that?
Yeah, there's a lot of Gerarding going on in this game.
Yeah. All right, Death Shadow. Ross's turns are pretty straightforward and easy. I will attack you again. This time it's for lethal.
I feel, well, I guess if you Explosives now, and then you have your mana from the Trinket Mage plus Food Chain. Yeah, I suppose if you're gonna have a Trinket Mage plus Food Chain next turn is more mana than the Carpet, and you might have to pull the trigger on this at some point anyway.
Just does get a little interesting. I mean, it's weird. It's weird what's going on. Fabiano ultimately still looking for Miss Hologriffin. Able to find that, things get less weird and much easier.
It's game over if he finds that because he has the Ballista in hand. So he's got the combo rolled up if he finds another engine piece.
Merriam going to cycle a Street Wraith, fall down to 5 for doing so. Liliana going up, Trinket Mage, and going down. Head back over to Fabiano now. Gerard will draw. He'll slow roll himself a little bit, as he oftentimes does. 2 mana here. Baleful Strix.
Strix is a good get here.
So let's see. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So he can play Walking Ballista for 4 now. Trinket Mage would be 4 mana. Ballista would be 3. So that's 7. And then the Forest is 8. A little short of killing with Walking Ballista.
You're also potentially playing into Daze in a spot where you should be equipped to play around it.
That's a very good point.
So that's the interesting squeeze. For example, you can sacrifice the Trinket Mage and just do it for 2. But then your Strix is lined up against the Liliana, which you'd like to avoid.
Yep.
This path is, I think, probably the best one to sacrifice. Now you can sacrifice the Strix and tap the Forest play Ballista for 2 and not worry about days.
And maybe get some more work done the following.
And the Liliana can't kill anything because you have 2/2/2s in play.
Yeah, okay. Fabiano taking a long look. He's just going to pass the turn back. So that means the Strix's probably going to die Liliana, as Ross will draw a card.
Yeah, but if the Strix dies to Liliana, that means that, in theory, the Trinket Mage has a clear shot at Ross the next turn.
And then finish off with
and then you can finish off with the Ballista.
Sure.
So Fabiano has basically assembled a lot of different, 85% to win the game lines.
Okay.
And Ross has to play around all of them.
Yes. And is he familiar with doing such?
Yeah, this is the most obvious play. You kind of had to just start there.
Wasteland your land. Pass the turn back. Fabiano will draw with his weird deck as here he comes in for 2. And now the question is, do I want to make a move here with the Walking Ballista? Sacrifice the Trinket Mage is 3+1 is 4, plus the 2 lands available, lets him play around days. That'll be a Ballista for 3.
Yeah.
Could be game over. Well, here's the attempt at a game-winning Walking Ballista. I think he says, in your upkeep, shoot you.
Player holds priority. I'm going to check that.
Oh, my gosh. Come on!
Oh, he's not holding. It's one at a time.
Yeah. That'll do it. Player's not hold priority, but player does get the win. That's Gerard Fabiano. He wins game number 2 here over Ross Merriam. As Food Chain and Demir Death Shadow are going to get ready for a third and final one. It's still a weird deck here from Fabiano. And we'll see if Ross is able to adjust to what we just saw there because, wow, that was a strange game, man.
Yeah. Although I don't know how much setting up there really is to do. I suppose I think the Bitter Blossoms were probably in there anyway because he thought he was playing against some sort of Sultai cards deck.
I just don't think he knew what he was playing against, right? In game 1, you didn't see any indication of what Gerard was up to.
Right. I mean, what would you even sideboard? Maybe you had the Liliana's Defeat in your deck and you cut it. I don't think there's a whole lot of room to change the deck substantially.
Yeah, this will be interesting as Ross goes back to the drawing board. Gerard's going to do the same thing, too. It was obvious what Ross was playing from Gerard's side, so Gerard probably doesn't have to change very much. For Ross, truthfully, I don't really know. He still has Liliana Last Hope. I just don't think that's the card you want in the matchup.
No. Although, I don't know, it's true. When your opponent shows that many copies of Engineered Explosives. But, yeah, it wasn't great.
Do you think they have more than 2?
But he's probably got other spot removal. And
yeah, sure.
that color combination typically doesn't exile a whole lot of threats, so it's a little bit on the slow side for sure. Baleful Strix is probably enough of a reason to leave Liliana Last Hope in.
All right, well, both these players are going to get ready for game number 3 of round 3 here from Baltimore. While they do that, we are going to talk about the StarCityGames.com YouTube page. Over 150,000 subscribers nowadays, so thank you very much, where you can watch a whole bunch of stuff, including the Versus series, and some of you may have seen the change that we made over the past couple of weeks. Our Versus series is now live every single Tuesday and Thursday beginning this coming week. So 1 p.m. to 4 p.m. East Coast time. You can watch the replays over on our YouTube page with Ross Merriam, Todd Anderson, Todd Stevens, and, of course, Brad Nelson. You got Commander Versus with Jeremy Knowles, Jonathan Suarez, Justin Parnell, and the American Dream.
Stephen Green.
That's right. We got Flashback, Todd Anderson, Jim Davis, and Brad Nelson, and many more to come. Best of the SCG Tour moments like Patrick Sullivan roasting Ross Merriam, as we saw earlier today, and a whole bunch more. Subscribe today at youtube.com/StarCityGames. Become one of over 150,000 subscribers. Thank you to each and every single one of you, and we hope you do continue to enjoy the content that we are producing over there. And someone you can find on that YouTube page quite a bit on those best of SCG Tour moments and SCG Tour replays is Gerard Fabiano. He loves a wacky deck.
Yes.
You've known this guy for, are we going on 20 years maybe?
He and I first played each other at the New Jersey State Championships 1999.
So we're almost at 20.
I was playing Smokestack Red, and he was playing Albino Troll Green. It was a 3-game match that went to dime. numerous bystanders described it as the worst played match of Magic they'd seen in their entire lives. And we've been friends ever since.
There you go. 35-year-old from Belleville, New Jersey. 11 top 8s, 5 wins here on the SCG Tour. 9 open wins combined between the two players. 3 invitational top 8s for Fabiano as well. A recent one, the same one that Eli Cassis won last year. And he's got the most Planewalker points of anyone in the United States. A former anti-smoking Truth Tour marketer. And he's a high school teacher by day, is Gerard Fabiano. And he's a food chain player on the weekends, apparently, is Gerard. As these players will shuffle up here for game number 3. It looks like we might be headed over to the land of the Is-It for our preview.
Okay.
That jumpstart mechanic, kind of a different take on Flashback there.
It is a slightly different take on Flashback and Retrace.
I forgot about Retrace. I forgot that was even a thing. Nice. Nice. But I mean, I have always liked Flashback-esque effects.
Gerard's
settling in now. Settling into the future match area. As Ross will be on the play here for game number 3. Both players going to keep. We're underway. Scalding Tarn's going to bring Ross down to 17. As here's a Delver of Secrets. Watery Grave will be tapped in just a moment. We'll head back over to Fabiano. See how his deck stands up to this kind of start, especially if the Delver transforms on turn 2.
Big thing for Fabiano here. He's got 2 main deck swamps, an island, and a forest. Really important for him to open up on as many basics as possible to avoid getting set behind by Wasteland. But his deck has such stringent color requirements that he might not have that luxury.
Brainstorm appears to be the draw there for Fabiano. It'll be a polluted Delta that Gerard will sacrifice. That's a tropical island.
And this speaks to how significant Fabiano's color mana requirements are, because on the draw, facing a Delver, if you can get basics, you'd like to do it.
Oh, there's a Carpenter Flowers again. But it looks like that's going to be hit with a Daze, as Gerard's going to place that into the graveyard. So we'll have Ross reveal the Daze, which means he's going to pick up the Watery Grave. So we'll head back over to Merriam. Will it transform? It will not. The Delver a little shy here this morning in Baltimore. Hello, Wasteland, in for 1.
It's the battlefield that I like.
Delver on its own.
Oh, no lands.
That's right. Fabiano does have a basic forest hand. Looks like another non-basic, too. He'll play that forest, and he'll play Engineered Explosives on 1. No Dazes available here for Ross. Does have the opportunity to cast a Force of Will with the blue card being exiled if he has it. But I'm not sure if he wants to do it. So Explosives will be resolving. Ross will be checking and whiffing again. Looks like he did pick up another copy of Wasteland, though. So here's an attack for 1 from the Delver. And there's a Watery Grave untapped. And now here's a Thoughtseize. So Ross wants to see what's going on. And in the process, he'll be able to lose a bit of life. You see Fabiano's hand of Food Chain, Brainstorm, and Leovold.
So keep in mind here that Fabiano has a path to get to a 3-drop uncontested, because he can use Polluted Delta to fetch a basic land, and then do his main phase with 3 mana.
And there you see Leovold, Emissary of Trest. The Sultai Elf Advisor for a black, a green, and a blue. You'll get a 3/3. Each opponent can't draw more than 1 card each turn, and whenever you or a permanent you control becomes the target of a spell or ability an opponent controls, you may draw a card. So even if you try to kill Leovold, you get to draw a card. It looks like Leovold will be the selection there with the Thoughtseize. So Fabiano will pick up his hand, and we're going to head back over to Gerard. Gerard will draw a card. Didn't get a great look at it, but he does have that EE on 1. It looks like Fabiano did pick up a land here. And he's still got a Brainstorm to work with, in case he wants to get a little bit deeper into his deck. Polluted Delta will be the land he plays. You predicted that. Figured you want to play around Wasteland as best you can.
Yes.
And now we're going to go back over to Ross, who's going to take a look at the top card again. And Delver is over 3. In for 1. Cycle Street Wraith here, Will Ross. The follow-up is a Wasteland. Let's go back over to Fabiano now, who will play that Underground Sea that Ross saw from the Thoughtseize. We know Fabiano can deploy Food Chain right now if he'd like, but that would be in the face of some potential counterspells here.
Days End, Spell Pierce.
Take a look, Will Ross. Going to reveal a Preordain, give that information away. But this means that Insectile Aberration has arrived, and it's a real clock right now. Probably going to force Gerard's hand with the Engineered Explosives.
Yeah, I think Gerard would have preferred to play setup for as long as he possibly can. Still possible he's willing to take one more hit, but if he's brainstorming in response here, it suggests to me that he wants to shuffle away with the Delta this turn. And if he's doing that, a good thing to do with your leftover 2 mana is blow up that Engineered Explosives.
Fabiano going to draw 3 cards. We'll be putting 2 back here in just a moment. Keep in mind, we are in Ross Merriam's upkeep right now. We are in his upkeep, as he did reveal the Preordain to the Delver of Secrets trigger, hence the transformation into Insectile Aberration. But we will continue on with Ross's turn here in just a moment. Brainstorm done resolving. Insectile Aberration now attacking. Fabiano going to take that 3. He'll fall down to 13 using his life total as a bit of a resource here. As we're now underneath 9 minutes in the round. Don't think time will become a factor here, but these players are playing some pretty lengthy and complicated games back and forth here. A staple of this brand new Legacy format, especially with the banning of Deathrite Shaman, as here is that Preordain that we saw on Ross's upkeep from the reveal. Both those cards going to go to the bottom, and Ross will draw a card. Watergrave going to enter the battlefield tapped, it appears. And we'll head back over to Gerard, see if he actually wants to crack the fetch land and blow up the EE.
Interesting here to see Ross not use the Wasteland straight away. I'm interested to see if we'll see it in response to the Engineered Explosive activation.
Fabiano going to blow up that EE, maybe? Could maybe have an end of turn Brainstorm instead? All right, he will blow up the EE. That'll take care of the Insectile Aberration. So now let's head back over to Gerard. Is Ross going to use this Wasteland yet? Still not going to. Interesting stuff.
Well, it signals that Merriam has one of his 3s in hand, probably.
That's a good point. Here's a Brainstorm from Gerard. 3 cards on the way. That's 2. Here's 3. Found a Brainstorm among them. Looks like he found a Birds of Paradise. What the heck?
4. Just hasn't showed up yet.
Yeah, I guess not. Birds of Paradise in hand.
And you gotta, if you're in Fabiano's spot here, so that looked like a pretty good place for Ross to Wasteland you.
Yeah.
If he doesn't Wasteland you, it's because he got a 3 or 4 mana spell in his hand.
Yep.
The ones you've seen are Liliana the Last Hope. Would not surprise me if Gerard valued the Birds of Paradise he saw in his hand very low there.
There's another Underground Sea for Fabiano. Yeah, that wouldn't surprise me one bit. You make a really good point there.
I don't know how much he needs the mana at this point, but in any event, probably a low probability spot here for Birds.
Well, here's a Hymn to Torak. Force of Will exiling Brainstorm means that him is going to get 2 cards no matter what. And now here's Relic of Progenitus again for Fabiano. So Fabiano working himself towards a much longer game. Going to activate the Relic. Ross will let the Force of Will go. That'll be exiled now. We head back over to Merriam. Again, with Merriam not using that Wasteland, you believe he has a 3 mana spell in hand.
Could be Snapcaster plus X.
Which is,
could be
which
3
is
mana.
Thing.
Effectively 3 mana.
Yep. There's a Delta. Ross going to fall down to at least 9. He'll get an Underground Sea, so it will only be 9. And now here is Snapcaster Mage. Here's a Thoughtseize.
And Ross needs to do this now before the Relic's online.
Yep. So we'll also take that opportunity to do this. You see the hand here for Fabiano. It's Food Chain and Brainstorm. Part of me wants to take the Brainstorm.
I want to take Brainstorm.
Yeah.
Let him have the Food Chain and just try to ride through it.
Yeah. Wasteland will take care of Underground Sea. And now you hope, if you're Ross, you just don't die. This also means that casting, if you're Fabiano, casting a Food Chain is a little bit risky because of days. Not anymore.
I would also probably not play around days in this spot because Ross force-willed exiling Brainstorm the last turn.
Ooh,
he probably would have exiled days if it was there.
No, good observation. Good observation.
I mean, Fabiano with the Relic, he has options to do other things anyway, so it's not like he has to just play into it if he doesn't draw a land, but I would be willing to risk it there.
Speaking of the Relic activation, there it is from Fabiano. He's going to take care of that Wasteland.
And Merriam's playing with Thoughtseize, so it's not like the card's safe in your hand necessarily either.
Now Fabiano just weighing the impact of maybe cracking the Relic entirely by sacrificing the Verdant Catacombs for a land, but he won't do that. Now we're going to head back over to Ross. Ross is going to come in here for 2. Fabiano's going to fall down to 9. Fabiano's still in the lead life total-wise, but he's got some work to do on the top of his deck. This is a Liliana, so it looks as though Ross has left at least one copy of that card in. Up to 4 goes the Last Hope. And then we're heading back over to Gerard, who's going to sacrifice the fetch, fall down to 8. So we'll see what land he wants to get. Tropical Island.
And this is purely thinning here from Fabiano. He's giving up a little bit of equity if he draws Brainstorm, but just trying to make his draws a little bit more spell dense.
Crack the Relic. New card coming.
If he's going to crack the Relic, then it's whatever.
Yep.
You might as well fetch first.
Fabiano going to sweat out these 2 draw steps here. 2 new cards here for Gerard. Included Delta and simply pass the turn back, so nothing too crazy going on here.
Yeah, I mean, Gerard's got a bunch of huge draws here. Miss Hollow Griffin, Chase the Mind Sculptor, Walking Ballista, Trinket Mage. Even a removal spell for the Snapcaster Mage to get the game back at parity. A lot of big draws.
Ponder time here for Ross. We'll see what he finds. It looks like he is going to shuffle. So a mystery card coming here for Ross Merriam. Let's see what number 12 on the SCG Tour Season 2 leaderboard finds. It'll be another Ponder. If one's nice, second one's not too bad, right? Force of Will amongst those cards.
Looks like Death Shadow, Force of Will. Definitely Force in the top 3. Force is a good get in this spot if you can cast it.
Yeah, I think so too. Liliana going to go down.
Oh, combo.
That is quite the combo.
Whoo!
Yep, put Death Shadow in the graveyard, get it back. That means he got the best of both worlds with that Ponder.
Yeah.
And now setting up lethal for next turn. Very well done there by Ross.
And if the leftovers are Force plus blue card.
Got to be feeling good.
Yep.
Got to be feeling good if that's what's left over. Fabiano thinking about sacrificing a Delta, and he will. So he's going to fall down to 5, will Gerard. That's the power of Ponder, folks. Able to find exactly what you're looking for. Took 2 of them, but Ross able to set up a pretty nice turn. Got a pretty big Death Shadow out of the deal. It's a 6-6 right now. And that means that Fabiano is staring lethal in the face. Might be his last turn of this game in this round.
And no longer drawing to Baleful Strix as a blocker either.
Mm-hmm. Gerard.
Island plus whatever the draw step was, I'm guessing.
We head back over to Ross now.
And this is lethal.
I promise he'll attack. Here he comes. It'll be an abrupt decay on Death Shadow.
Can't be countered.
Nope. A little bit better than Assassin's Trophy there. That's for sure. Liliana's going to go down. I think Ross says, I'm going to get back my Death Shadow. Street Wraith, Wasteland among the cards, replay Death Shadow. You got to find a way out of this again, Gerard. Gerard will draw a card. He's going to slow roll himself one more time as we are in extra turns. You see the island that Patrick mentioned. Don't have a great look at the other one. You know Gerard's got to take his time.
Well, now that I guess that we're in turns,
yeah,
there's no cost.
Even more time to take. Brainstorm. See, there you go. Hit 1. Let's make it 2. How about 3? 2 going back. You're going to get the full Gerard here. Going to take a bunch of cards, a lot of facial expressions, slow roll himself. It's the Fabiano package at work.
Yeah. The whole range on display.
Fabiano deciding what 2 cards he's going to put back from this brainstorm and if he can actually live or not. Abrupt Decay helped him stave off elimination for 1 turn. He's going to need another one here.
And he is Brainstorm locked, so even if he finds an Abrupt Decay for the Death Shadow, he's still got to find an answer to the Snapcaster Mage the following turn.
Because he can't fetch.
Yeah.
All right, Fabiano's got 2 cards. Nope. Yep. 2 cards put back. All right.
So he's kept a Swamp.
Play a land?
It's got to be Ballista if he's playing a land.
Yeah. Good call. Got a Force Will there, Ross? He's got Force, but no blue card, it looks like. Okay. Turn 2. What do we have here? Dismember. That should take care of it. Ross will lose a little bit of life to cast it. Fall down to 5, but his Death Shadow is going to be huge.
Yep, this is lethal.
Ballista can't kill it. It can kill Snapcaster Mage, of course. And Fabiano will deal 1 over to Merriam and deal 1 to Snapcaster Mage. And that'll take care of it. So Ross Merriam's going to win this match over Gerard Fabiano. 2 games to 1. Demir Death Shadow will take care of the innovative food chain deck there for Gerard Fabiano. But it's Ross Merriam, your player on the right, member of Team BCW, picking up the W. He moves on to 3-0.
Gerard's deck post board is kind of in this weird spot where he's